Well, at least one country has got it right. On his first day in office, President Donald J. Trump has withdrawn from the Paris Climate Agreement, which would see most countries impoverish themselves while China carries on burning coal like there's no tomorrow, and has vowed to repeal the EPA's punishing emissions regulations and abandon the taxpayer-funded subsidies for EVs. Bravo! What's remarkable is how energy has grabbed so many of the headlines. A few decades ago it wouldn't even warrant a mention, but after years and years of self-destructive climate policies that have crippled industries across the country, energy is almost at the top of the list. Energy security is national security. So Trump has declared an energy emergency, and that's not hyperbole, it's the grim reality, allowing him to use additional powers to get things moving. And with his America First attitude, Trump has declared he will abandon mad wind and solar projects and instead focus on providing affordable electricity for everyone. How refreshing. And he may just have saved the US auto industry by promising to abandon the brutal tailpipe emissions regulations and once again allow auto manufacturers, shock horror, to build the cars that people actually want to buy. What a novel concept that is in this f***ed up world we live in. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. Thank you to everyone who has helped this channel get to 100k subscribers. I'm incredibly grateful, but if you're still one of the majority of my viewers who are not subscribed, you should still just click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you'd like to make a contribution to the channel, why not buy me a coffee? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. The United Kingdom is quietly sobbing as it sees the US escape the shackles of environmental extremism and spread its wings again, while it's still got 4.5 years of energy madness courtesy of that Wallace from Wallace and Gromit lookalike Ed Miliband. We'll come on to that in a minute, but first, Trump's gifts to the US energy and auto markets. Trump ends electric vehicle mandate, withdraws US from Paris Climate Agreement. Washington, President-elect Donald Trump declared a national energy emergency as part of a suite of day one executive orders and other actions Monday aimed at carrying out his long-promised drill baby drill agenda on American fossil fuels. The orders include eliminating the so-called electric vehicle mandate, Trump's phrase for an Environmental Protection Agency rule that required auto manufacturers to cut greenhouse gas emissions by half in new light and medium-duty vehicles beginning in 2027. The EPA has estimated the rule would force auto manufacturers to build electric vehicles for about 30% to 56% of their new light-duty vehicles by 2032 and 20 to 32% of new medium-duty vehicles. Trump also signed an order withdrawing the US from the Paris Climate Agreement, which former President Joe Biden had rejoined after his election 4 years ago. The United States will not sabotage our own industries while China pollutes with impunity, Trump said during a ceremony at Capital One Arena, where he signed multiple orders in front of roaring supporters. The actions included revoking 78 Biden-era actions. By calling a national emergency on energy, Trump is making it the priority of his administration to increase the domestic production of oil and other forms of fossil fuel energy, White House officials said. It comes as US crude oil production has already hit an all-time high over the past year. Another executive order from Trump will reopen drilling in parts of Alaska after Biden took action to limit both oil and gas drilling and mining in the state. The scope of the Alaska order wasn't immediately clear. Trump has promised to work to overturn Biden's recent action to ban offshore drilling on the Atlantic and Pacific coast. Well, this is all amazing stuff, primarily because it will boost the economy and remove the boot from the throats of the poor, long-suffering US public, who have had 4 years of utter environmental insanity at the hands of the Biden-Harris administration. Here's a clip from the speech, and you just have to laugh at all the Democrats on the right of the picture with their rictus grins fixed in place as he says all of this. It's priceless.
The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and That is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote.
But in the UK, they're bawling their eyes out at the thought of 4.5 more years of Ed Miliband. America is free from the electric car nightmare. In Europe, it's just beginning. Donald Trump is quashing Biden-era rules that distorted the market and damaged industry. In Britain and the EU and Australia, the EV push is accelerating. With one flourish of a presidential pen, they will be free. Amid the blizzard of executive orders that President Trump has said he will sign in the next few hours, one of the most significant, for the economy at least, will be his decision to end the rules, forcing American auto manufacturers to focus their energies on electric vehicles. President Trump is determined to go back to something that until recently would have been considered completely normal, a free market in cars. Under President Biden, a tax credit, in effect a subsidy, of up to $7,500 was awarded for every EV sold, and environmental rules were blamed for effectively forcing automakers to make a larger proportion of their new vehicles electric. Instead of simply making the cars that people wanted at prices they could afford, something that the pioneers of the American industry such as Henry Ford were once very good at, the industry was distorted by a mixture of subsidies and standards that had more in common with Soviet planning than free market capitalism. With all that ditched, Ford and GM can get back to serving their customers with a mix of petrol autos for long journeys, EVs for city runarounds, and hybrids for everything in between. It is likely to be a very successful mix, and one that will enable them to push back against the looming wave of Chinese imports, especially if those cars face tariffs. It will, however, pose a huge challenge to countries that choose to persist with EV mandates, the UK and the EU bloc chief among them. While America frees itself from a rushed transition to electric vehicles that has proved poorly planned and badly executed, London and Brussels will continue to tie themselves to a technology that is far from foolproof. Well, now might be a good time to consider moving to the US if you live in the UK or Europe and you value your freedoms, because there won't be much of those around in 5 years' time. Here in Australia, we've got the down under version of Ed Miliband, but possibly only for a few months more, as an election is due. However, if the Aussie public is foolish enough to vote these morons back in again, I might be on a plane to the US pretty soon as well. But for now, let's just enjoy the moment that an entire edifice of insane progressive environmental ideology crumbles to dust before our very eyes. Perhaps it can happen in Australia too, if we're lucky.